Oh, I guess I went up to Dan one day. We never got along ever since he bird dogged me when I was up in Philadelphia and Nikki moved in with him. But, one day I said, Dan, we really ought to be able to get along because we're neighbors. But he sort of just turned on his heel and walked away. Dan has a funny way about him. He still does. It rubbed me the wrong way. So I just remember one day he had put up a couple of 300 bales of hay out there in the Lawless field, I remember. Square bales. We were in the barn, Amy and I, had a hammock. And, pretty much a full moon, and I guess Amy was getting ready to go to sleep or she was in bed reading or something. But I was in the hammock. And I was just angry at Dan because I always tried to be a good neighbor, tried to be nice. But it just didn't work. So anyway, I just got a bee in my bonnet. I took my knife out. It was one of them Opinel, the kind that Picasso had and Matisse had. The pear handle and the little French little picnic knife. Got it sharp. And I walked out to that field and I cut the strings on all those hay bales. Now, you didn't really have to cut them because they were so tight and the knife was so sharp. You just had to touch the bale and twine with the knife and it would just fly apart. So I went out there, cut every one of them, 250, 300 of them. I didn't count them, but I just cut them. And I come back to the hammock, and not too long, he says, "You sleeping? It's awful quiet." I said, "No, I'm just looking at the stars and looking at the moon." Well, anyway, the next day, Charlie comes over. He says, "Well, Dan came over here. Boy, he was angry." He says, "What you cut my hay bales for?" I said, "I didn't cut your hay bales." Well, so Charlie says, "Well, I figured if I didn't cut them, it must have been you." Well, it was me. So I went over to Dan. I said, "Dan, you've been telling these stories about my friend Charlie, and not true." He says, "What are you talking about?" I says, "Well, you've been telling everybody that Charlie cut your hay bales." Well, it was me. Well, he just looked at me and walked away. Well, if the shoe would have been on the other foot, I would have got my shotgun. Anyway, a couple of days later, Beth comes running over. She says, "Oh, the sheriff's coming to get you." So the sheriff pulls up. Sheriff from Pocahontas County says, "I got a warrant here. I don't know, destruction of property, or I don't know what it is." I said, "Well, you're in Greenberg County. I'm in Greenberg County, and you're from Pocahontas County. What if I don't go with you?" He says, "Well, if you don't go with me, they'll send the state police." So I said, "Okay, let's go." So he drove me up to the courthouse and went in front of the magistrate, and I explained the situation about Dan when I was living with Nikki and went to Philadelphia and she moved in with him, and just the whole litany of everything that was going on. I said, "I did cut those hay bales. Yes, sir. I loved every one of them." Well, I guess he fined me about $35 and $15 or $20 court costs, and that was that. And it was pouring rain, and the sheriff was so nice, he just drove me on back to the barn.